Wow. Did you hear that?
Yes, of course I did.
Okay. Oh, hold on. I'm actually connected to my speaker. Okay, that's all right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
it sounds good.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Matcha.
Seamus.
Tell me stuff about you.
Seamus, what are we going to be talking about? And you're like, stuff. I'm like, okay, what's that?
I do enough planning and schedule. I don't want to do any more.
I thought that too as well when I was like, are you sending me to Zoom? And it was all a bit like, and I was like, he wants life to be easy. I like it. I'm very like that, you know? Because everyone like wants things, you know, the day before and whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, I'll send it when you need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I know half an hour is actually really short, so let's talk.
Yeah, exactly. Focused.
It's lovely to see you, by the way, because I obviously haven't seen you.
I see you and hear you.
Yeah. So yeah, I've definitely. You're saying, tell me about me, and I feel like I'm gonna really, that's quite a big sentence.
Yeah.
So do you want like it tuned into something specific, or you really like let it be broad and open?
Oh man, that's a decision.
Okay.
Well, I'd say just, I suppose, just broad strokes, you know.
Okay.
Just introduce yourself to people who have never heard of you.
Perfect. So yeah, a lot of things. And I suppose when I'm sharing this, I suppose I'm changing. It might sound like, oh, does she know? I do know, but I'm in the middle of a big change in the last, especially I think we all have been because of COVID, but I've definitely been on that prior to COVID. So what's been going on and where I am now in my life and my work. And so I suppose the fundamental of my living is that I'm a medicine woman, but that kind of incorporates like a whole massive vacuum of things. And I'm also an artist, and I use many multidisciplinaries around that, and even they're expanding, I suppose, more. And then I'm also a mother of a teenager, and I'm also very involved with the equine industry, also as a medicine woman.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Which one?
Horses are cool.
Yes, yeah, it is. They are really cool, and it's such a big topic as well, because I think people automatically, when they hear horses, kind of imagine,
Black Beauty.
I don't know. I think they imagine a lot of different things, but like I definitely find that they imagine this whole kind of like either that rich kind of world, or else the kind of like just riding school. There's like these two levels.
Yeah, okay. Like, you've got a different one. I presume.
Yeah, exactly. I have that like
another
world
category.
Of, it's another category. And I think even in the holistic world, they're not overly aware of it, but like it's kind of, because my world with horses in that sense is like really shamanic as well. You know, it's really listening, animal communications. And even though I do horse ride, I have my own horses. I'm around horses every single day, not alone my own, but other people's. I work with all the industries from racehorsing to eventing, all the other ones. So it's quite broad, you know, and I think there's a lot of people don't know a lot about it. So like, you know, if this was a horsey podcast or something, I'd be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So
you're bragging like a dog. No, look at yeah, like I'm interested in the horses at the moment. You know, and like you work with racehorses, or have worked with racehorses.
Yeah.
What What do you do with that? What do you do? What have
Hmm.
you done?
So, working with racehorses, I've actually been working with them now for 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, 20 years maybe this year. And it's been in a lot of different ways. So, first of all, was actually doing rescuing. Like, so basically in the horse industry, we have racehorses that go to the slaughterhouse every single day, sadly.
Mm.
Um, and even from very young age, it's not just what people think, like if they break a leg on a racing. But
Mm.
so there's always a possibility of taking those horses and rehabilitating them into
Mm.
riding horses. And they're beautiful riding horses and very
Yeah.
talented. So that's been something I got into quite early when I used to train horses and ride horses.
Yeah.
But then when I was kind of already quite holistic back then, 20 years ago,
Mm.
I suppose the racehorses taught me a lot because they have just a whole other sensitivity in their sphere, like
Yeah.
they're high blood animals. So,
Yeah. What does high blood
mm,
mean? Well
and I
bred.
had,
High blood means well bred.
yeah, so they're, high blood. Well, high blood is probably my own, my own word there, but like,
Oh, you're just making up stuff.
well, I would say high blood because we have cold blood, warm blood, and you'd kind of say like, oh, they're a hot horse, and the blood
Okay.
runs thin because they have thin skin. Their
They're very
circulatory
sensitive
system,
and
yeah, their
reactive.
circulatory system runs quicker, basically,
Yeah.
versus like this classic Irish cob would be like very ploddy and slow, and
Hmm.
generally their heart goes slower, everything's calmer.
Yeah.
Do you get me?
Mm.
So they're blood horses. I think that's the right word. They're very bloody. There's this
Oh.
saying. It's like interesting when you ask me that, because that question would never come up in the horse. What does a blood horse mean? I'm like, oh yeah, actually, how do you describe that?
Yeah.
Um,
So there's a whole world of terminology I don't know anything about. So I have to go, what do
mm,
you mean? When you
yeah,
say that.
yeah.
A
Um,
blood horse.
yeah, so the bloody bean, they're very fiery, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
And hot. That's a term we use. They're hot, as in fire.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
And then I suppose later on, when it was probably around any traumatized or rehabilitated horses, and I would take in other people's horses and take the trauma out of racehorses, because racehorses have a lot more trauma on a scale of how many of they are in the country. They
Hmm.
would have more trauma than the other horses. If you put like 10 racehorses in front of you at the same age, I
Hmm.
can guarantee you they have all some serious problems in their body and their mental state. Whereas 10 horses of, say, show jumping,
Hmm.
they maybe three of them might have the
Hmm.
same amount of, the same quantity of
Less
problems. So,
pressure. Is it less pressure in show jumping?
yeah, all the racehorses are directed for the highest point.
Yeah. And there's more money in racehorse, I presume.
Yeah, time and money is another big one. That
Yeah.
that's life, right? Isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
um, and then I suppose I'll like finish what you asked me, which is like, what do you do with them? And then so the healing work came in. Like, I was obviously aware of this healing work and working with like herbs and essential oils and massage and energy work and shamanic work even 20 years ago, and it was always part of my equine world.
Hmm.
And natural horsemanship, I would put that word there, but I would say holistic horsemanship now, because natural horsemanship is kind of gotten into its own little category. And and then I started moving away from training horses and moved into just healing horses. And that's where I would still work in the racing industry now with very high-end racehorses and very low-end racehorses, or even as their foals or anything like that, and trying to get their body to their best performance, really, and
So,
mentally and emotionally and all this thing.
so trainers would bring horses to you.
I would go to trainers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they obviously invite you in.
Yeah, exactly. They ring me and say, hi, I have a horse. Can you come and look at it?
Okay.
Blah.
Because So why have they heard of you, or why would they use you, and why would they not use a vet, or have they used a vet already, or what?
Yeah, that's a great question. My 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 business is definitely orientated around a lot of people going, oh, I like, not everyone, but a lot of it is going around. I have no one else to ask. I have no other hope. And then someone says, "Oh, try this girl."
Oh, like you're the patron saint of lost hope horses.
Yeah,
Saint Jude, you're the
definitely
Saint Jude of horses.
something like that. And I'm sure they say something like, "Look, there's this woman now, and she's like a witch or something, but I don't know what she does, but just it worked, so she'll try it." And some of
Great.
them ring and some of them don't, right?
Yeah.
So and in weird ways, the horsey industry people, some of them are really open to that stuff, and some of them are totally not open to the stuff, but they don't care. They say that they like, "I know what you're doing, I don't even get it, I probably don't even believe in it, but you're doing something because I can see the changes." So it's so fascinating.
Yeah. See, I love that. I love
Mm.
that. And you know what? People care more about their cars and their horses, right, than they do about themselves.
I
So,
know.
and I think I love that, because
Mm.
it means money. Actually, people care about money. I think,
People care
because
about money,
yeah,
especially in the racing industry. Like,
yeah,
I have some lovely owners that are really, they
mm,
just love horses, they
yeah.
love the whole
There's a lot
concept.
of that. There's a lot of that too. Yeah.
Definitely. And then there's other people that just love, it's built on gambling,
Yeah,
realistically,
it is.
and
Yeah,
yeah, so
but like there is I can see the potential for vast amount of money in it, in race
mm,
parsing as well. Do you know? Because
mm,
I just know, like, say, a guy that has a stud farm and stuff, so I'm asking him questions, and some of the stuff when it talks to money just blows me mind. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh my god, you pay 40,000 euro for a foal, like that's just
yeah.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
that's not even that much,
Yeah, like there is, yeah. And
yeah.
for a stallion to cover a horse,
Mm.
it's astronomical money as well.
Yeah, that's why it's a gamble, because you could pay 2,000 for a horse in the morning, two
Yeah,
thousand euro for a racehorse, which
yeah.
an okay breeding or whatever.
Mm.
You could pay 60,000 euro for a racehorse in the morning with this kind of, this horse's sire and dam has made all this money, and this is guaranteed kind of thing. And the 2001 could be a highly successful
Yeah,
as equivalent to this one, and
yeah,
this one could break its leg in the first month of training.
yeah,
It's such a gamble.
yeah,
It's so gamble.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
madness.
yeah, yeah. So like that must be interesting, your relationship with it become coming from a holistic point of view, an alternative
Mm,
medicine point of view, and going into this. But it's not just race horses that you do. You do show jumping and you do other types of horses. What other types of?
yeah, dressage horses, eventing horses, hoppy haggers, whatever they are. No, happy hackers, like they call that, like people that just have hobby horses.
Okay, yeah, hobby
Um,
horses. Yeah,
that
okay.
really, like, their life is, it's like their children. um
Oh,
yeah, so it
okay, yeah.
really, anywhere, like, if anyone ever rang me, it wouldn't be like I don't work with that type of horse. But it's interesting, about the start of the conversation I said, oh, things are just changing. So I'm literally like in this week, and it has been happening more in this year, of questioning how much I will come to someone if they ring me and say, "Hey, can you come and look at my horse?" That is starting to change a lot now, because I really love, it's coming to this question of the holistic work. It's like, I really love working with someone that gets my work, trusts my work 100%, is willing to go anywhere with what I offer, and wants to authentically have the good of the heart of this horse at
Yeah,
heart. because I do work with a lot of people that are like, just get that horse good.
Yeah, just fix it. It's broken, fix it. Yeah.
And it has to go to Cheltenham and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard for me because that's like going into your doctor even, which is very different than holistic medicine, and say, fix me, I need to go run a marathon. And the doctor's like, well, you're not healthy. I can give you drugs, but you know, you're not going to be well after or something. And in mine, it's obviously good, but I have that place where I'm authentically wanting to be there 100% for the horse. So I'm like, well, honestly, this horse shouldn't do that in this year. But then that's not obviously always
what they want to hear.
Possible.
Yeah.
So a lot of pressure.
Yeah. And I can see that's difficult, and I can see, you know, when someone trusts you, then you have a lot of flexibility. Then you can party, you can kind of go, okay, we could try this, we could try that, you know. And you're also being probably a detective as well and finding out what are the issues. So it mightn't be obvious, you know, so you might need another way at coming at it, you know. Especially with foals, because they're very vulnerable, aren't they?
It's very sad with foals because it can be very, you know, they survive or they don't or something. And it does happen a lot, and it happens with all horses, but it kind of, it's a really tricky one there, because sometimes I say, like, look, I can, you know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical surgeon, so I can't really like diagnose. You probably know that from homeopathy as well. That you well, I don't know what homeopathy are you allowed to diagnose, and herbalism you are.
Well, it's kind of getting to the root of the problem is different than giving a label. A label doesn't give you very much information of, say, like asthmatic doesn't tell you the problems they've had in their childhood with their mother. You know what I mean? Like so you're getting to the root cause, which is it's never going to be a label, really, you know.
Yeah, and in the horsey space, like, I get that a lot. You know, people are like, give me what's wrong, you know, and I'm like, well, I can only tell you what on a physical level, I think it's wrong, but then there's all this other reason why this is here, and every customer is very different, and so that's where I'm starting to move away, really, from the customers I can't talk to openly about.
But the thing is, the dollars. Do you know what I mean? You know, that's what you want to do, all right? That's what we all want to do. But, like, you still have to pay your bills, right? Do you know what I mean? We can't get away from that, like, you know, because
I don't know. See, I agree and I disagree. And I definitely just had this thought before we came on here.
Here we go.
And I don't know what we were going to talk about, but I was thinking, I always kept my horsey practice and loved my horsey work. And I was like, why did I do that? And I was like, well, because I get to be outside part of the week. I get to be with animals. I get to be a different kind of world. You know, it's a different space than, say, in a practice room with your healing sessions, whatever I'm doing, or even in a dance room, still quite insular. And, you know, of course, in the summer, I get to be at outside events. But I was like, yeah, it's definitely, that's one reason why I do it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. If I took away that world of how I work with horses right now, how would I replace that with what I really want? So it was kind of an interesting moment, because I was like, yeah, do I just do that because it just makes my life a little bit more balanced? But is that truly what I want to do? Right now, it's different. I don't want to do that now anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
So it is something about money. Like, you know, I've always questioned, but I don't know. It kind of naturally works out for me as well. Because if I find one of the customers is kind of just like banging against what I say, they naturally go the other direction. So I'm not like just going to go, I'm going to shape to you too much. I don't. That's why I suppose I'm really good, because I'm like, no, that's not okay. Like, you can't.
But you'd be no good. You'd be no good to them even if you did that. Do you know what I mean? if you can't be telling them what they want to hear either, because then you're no good at what you want to do. Like,
Yeah, it's so different, isn't it, with
Yeah,
every single person,
yeah,
basically.
no,
Mm.
big time. Um, and so, do you do much with rehabilitating the horses, or rescuing them as well? And do you have horses of your own? Have you sold them, or what's that?
So I would have done a lot of rescuing horses before, and I really got out of that because it's like I wasn't a charity, and I didn't take charity. I wasn't very good at being a charity. So I was like working to keep, them all the time and running a rat
Yeah,
race wheel. So that was
yeah.
terrible.
Mm,
And then I wouldn't rehome them or sell them until they're really ready, that I knew that this is the
yeah.
right person, this is the right
Mm,
place for them, blah, blah,
mm,
blah. So I've moved away from that, and I still have, right now I have 5 because I just had 2 foals, but I
brilliant.
have two of them are complete rescues. They would have, one came from rescue center, the other one would have gone to the slaughterhouse back in 2012 when we had that big recession time. And then the other one was kind of, I did pay money over, but she was leaving the country and she was kind of stuck for the horse to go somewhere. Anyway, I was basically helping a friend.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up with these horses. So, and I had other ones, but I rehomed them and, got them
Okay.
a life where someone else could give them their full time, because when you have many and you're trying to make an income, that's
Yeah.
kind of impossible, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And is there a whole subculture of people like yourself helping horses that are just love the horses and kind of struggling to kind of look after them in a kind of in a kind of disposable world,
There's definitely people constantly taking, like, I get offered a racehorse every month.
really.
Definitely. Oh, there's a lovely horse, would you take it? It's never even been on the track. It's barely been damaged, and it's going to be put down unless someone takes it. And I'm like, I can't, you just have to have that stop. And then eventually somebody takes it,
Oh.
or not,
Mhm.
So there's too many. And there's many of those that don't even get to be offered. Like, some of those that are very lucky, they have someone in the background that's like, look, let's try and give them a new life in a new place.
Yeah.
But there's so many of them that will
Yeah.
go straight into the abattoir. They won't even get an option. Even if someone
Yeah.
begged to take them, they wouldn't have that option.
Yeah. It's undignified. It's just undignified.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And can I ask you more directly, what medical modality do you use with horses, or what is your approach, and what influenced you? And have you done anything like, that guy Monty Roberts? Have you employed and used any of his kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I suppose that I know all of Monty's methods. I use some of them. I use some of different people's methods.
Hmm.
But I really have my own method by now.
Hmm.
I had my own method
The
probably
matcha method.
the Macha method. I had my own method years ago, like over 10, 12, 15 years ago, maybe.
Hmm.
I'm a really I can say this out loud because anyone that knows me knows I'm a really talented, gifted horsewoman. I'm not
There
just
you
someone
go. There you go.
wanted to learn it. It's like,
Yeah.
I've been since a child already, very like, it was an organic
Yeah.
thing.
Hmm.
So that's when I was kind of getting more into that natural horsemanship world, which is all that Monty Roberts, Pirelli, and there's loads of other famous people out there now.
Yes, sir.
And I did do that, and I did train that, and I still use my practices. But again, so I don't do that now. So when someone rings me, actually, because the business of it is that, but in that way, I used to coach people. So I used to also coach people in saddle as well. And I still do a little bit of that, but it's way more in this very healing, getting people really into themselves and like getting back to how to be with their horses.
Okay. So sorry, are you doing like healing the relationship between the rider and the horse?
Yes.
Really?
yes. So there's actually like in my equine work, I do probably minimum 5 possible kind of worlds that people want to work
Oh,
with me. So like I also do equine facilitated healing. So that's also where, say you had a horse, Seamus, and you were like, oh, can you come and see my horse? But like, you know, yeah, I have some emotional trauma and I can see I can't connect with my horse. Or it could be very different, that it's like, can you just come and see my horse? There's something wrong with it. But then I can see that you're very alternative. So I bring it in and say, look, I can see there's something going on with you. Can we talk about that? And then they'll be like, yeah, I'm open to it. And then we can go from there and start healing, whatever. I'm like, look, this horse is going through X because you're obviously holding on to some
yeah.
emotions or trauma between you or separate,
Mm,
it's
mm,
so complex, right? It's like,
yeah. Yeah, big time.
um,
So you end up
so,
going in the people. Sorry for interrupting, but
mm,
just there is this other thing called horse therapy as well, isn't there? Like where
mm,
people, like say, of autistic children or whatever,
mm,
they bring them to horse therapy
mm.
centers. Is that a big thing now? Have you been involved in that?
Yeah, I have been involved in it, and I would not call myself now the classic horse. They call it kind of, I would do equine facilitated healing.
Hmm.
There's equine facilitated therapy. There's a lot of different ones. Then there's the writing therapy. There's a lot of different ones kind of in there, and they're kind of becoming a bit more clear. And in Ireland, probably 15 years ago, it started coming in, and now it's getting really big. We're actually in Ireland is the first time they're building an organization around that. And Festina Lente in Bray is like, they're the home of that.
Who are
That's
they?
what Festina Lente. I'll type it to you because I'll
Yeah.
probably spell it wrong. Oh well, no one's here. They can't see this. I'll type it to you if you want it. But
Yeah.
they started off this very autism, not specific for autism, but for
Yeah.
anyone that has like some disorder that felt, or depression that they felt like they needed to
Mm,
come and have this therapy sessions. And
mm,
they built a center around it being a very sensory system, and they have the horses there and very qualified therapists. And then they started a school teaching people as well. So they've been very evolutionary and amazing, really, to the
mm.
country. And see, the reason why I don't do that now specifically, I only work with if Seamus has a horse.
Yeah.
If Seamus doesn't have a horse, I cannot help you, but you can use your next door neighbor's horse, and I can turn up and I can facilitate that
Okay.
therapeutic healing.
Yeah.
But I don't have suitable horses. I used to do it when I had suitable horses for it, but I shut that all down because that's a whole other business. I had to have the yard insured and whatever, and I wanted to
Yeah.
get away from all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Mm,
It sounds like massive, and this is just one of the things you do.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's great to get an insight, like some kind of insight into it, and because I'm new to the whole equine world,
Mm,
and I do. It's one area of, say, Irish life that I know nothing about, like zero. Apart from betting on a horse the odd time on the Grand National, I just don't know anything about it. And it's interesting because a friend of mine trained a horse that run the Grand National a few years ago, when he was just a small trainer, and he was up against all these, like, who's it, Aidan O'Brien and all these characters, and basically won the Grand National. So that really captured my imagination.
mm.
But yeah, and I suppose the other thing I wanted to ask you more specifically, have you use herbs with horses? Have you ever used homeopathy with horses?
Yeah, so that's kind of goes back to your medical question.
Yeah.
So which covers, I suppose, the most medical thing would be the herbalism. And then, and not with everyone. So people have to, like, I offer that, very little people come to me just for the herbalism.
Okay.
It's not, it's normally people come like because they know this woman does this thing and they don't know, and I'm like, right, let's go in, and I got the place basically and go, okay, all this needs to change, and I'll do my energy healing work and body work, and then I'm like, right, the herbs are going to do this. Are you open to that?
Yeah.
And some people aren't. They just don't believe and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just hilarious because I'm like, literally, animals live on herbs. Come on. So it's hilarious. But I then the homeopathy question. Like, I suppose I kind of in the last years, because when we met, we were talking about homeopathy, which was a few years now ago, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I was very like, yeah, homeopathy is amazing. And I kind of was getting more into it. And the reason why is because I found, because I work with like cats, dogs, and any other animal that's brought to me, and kids. So like, herbs was always a problem with all those small creatures. Dogs, not so much. They kind of eat a lot,
Yeah.
But when I was like, yeah, this is so hard. And that's where I was like, there must be another way to facilitate this other area. And homeopathy became really big, for me, because I was like, yes. And not something I want to go and train in, but what I do, and I'm not sure do I want to tell you this, because
why is it? Oh, you douse it or something like that. Oh.
So homeopathy, and the reason why, why I do this is because, and it's not, I don't offer it to everyone.
Listen, whatever works,
And you know what? I do recommend people to go off and do things. But so what happens is I say, oh, herbs, whatever. And I'm like, it's going to cost X amount, whatever. And people say, no, I don't want to spend the money, basically. And then I'm like, okay, well, look, go and buy this €10 vial and give this to them for 3 weeks or whatever. And I kind of, check in and like whatever dose I feel is right. But it's not that I don't know anything about it. I definitely know nothing in comparison to Seamus. Do you know what I mean? Like, so like a homeopathist has been years.
Yeah.
So I never say I'm a homeopathist. I never say I
whatever.
And I'd recommend someone that I know that's in the locality, and I say, look, you can go to them if you want. But then, they're like, oh, but that's another €100. And I'm like, I'm like, well, okay.
But that's what it costs. Like, and bloody vets, how much are they going to charge? And
But the vets now are getting very cute because they're starting to use herbs a lot. They've gone off and done a little CBD course, or else some companies starting to sell them boxes of herbs. Oh, this one's for this one's for this. Kind of like how we have in the shops, in the horse shops. But I'm like, it's kind of like what I'm doing with the homeopathy. I'm like, look, I'm only giving you the drop in the ocean here of a helping hand.
Yeah.
Whereas with the herbs, I can be a bit more like the ocean with the helping hand. And then there's like, you are like Seamus is the drop, the ocean in homeopathy.
Yeah.
And I try to explain that to people, but like they're just like, oh, but it's all the same. You're like, not really. Same with the vets. If the vet gives you a bucket or whatever, this is not 100% energetically aligned to this animal in front of me. So yeah, it's that. I love to try and help anyone any way I can, and I think that's that other thing.
Yeah, look, I appreciate that, and I'm of the school, whatever works, as long as you're not damaging someone or something, and fair play to you. And like, there's also just in what's important, and everyone forgets about it, is just the intention to heal, and that alone obviously doesn't do the job. I mean, you could be good, have good intentions, but you mightn't be able to make the transformation. But it is vital to have that intention, that genuine intention to heal, and however then you get the result fair play to you, you know.
There's one thing that popped up, and I know why with the homeopathy came a lot more into my sphere, is because if an animal isn't eating, it's very hard to get herbs in, right? Physical herbs. So then you have alcohol. And then with alcohol, okay, coming out of the eating, say, I'm just thinking of a cat now, very difficult. They will not take alcohol. So homeopathy becomes a very simple option, right? You probably know this. But then with horses, because I work with a lot of competition horses, most of the herbs, especially in the racing industry, no racer is going to go near them. They actually won't even go near homeopathy most of the time. They're terrified because the legislation around homeopathy and herbs and all these things are just so high, and the traces, even if a horse is eating dandelions, too many dandelions, I'm just throwing it out there now because I don't know the exact stats, that they pick it up in the bloods and they say, hey, give me back my 10 million in this one, you know?
Oh, so that's why they're afraid to use herbs, because it could be a trace of some banned substance, but there isn't in homeopathy.
Well, not really. Actually, I cannot say I know any racer that has ever used homeopathy.
Really? Like a racer, when you mean a racer, a race horse?
I mean, like someone in race training. And
okay.
Versus racehorse is very different. Yes.
Yeah.
As in, we should say thoroughbred versus racehorse, because thoroughbred is the breeding and racehorse is the person, you know, that's their field. That's their like, yeah.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot of learning.
They don't trust that it's definitely safe. They're afraid that especially if it's a trainer and not an owner, that's a big thing.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, yeah, we totally get into horses there.
It's a horse chat.
Yeah. We've gone over a half an hour.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind. I can probably talk to you for ages, but I wanted to put some kind of limit on it. The other thing I wanted to say to you is, if you ever want any homeopathy advice, you can always give me a bell, because I'd be interested in it, you know. And I just love the game of homeopathy, you know. And like, I have books on homeopathy and animals, but there is another book I want to get. It's just homeopathy for horses, some British stuff. So I'd be interested in that. But
and I can definitely, if you're interested in working with them and in equine world, because also people tend to like working with people in the locality. Where are you again? Where is your location?
I'm in Meath, Kells. But like, I realize I am aware that you can't legally, like, as a homeopath, give a homeopathic remedy to an animal.
Exactly. I don't do that. Just so you know.
But you can't. Yeah, no, but you can't. But the owner can. They can prescribe, or a vet can prescribe. I am aware of the legal nature. Yeah, it's a lot of crazy regulations in the world, but what can you do? You just have to dance through that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's good. And I think anyway, the homeopathy thing is a great option. Long term, a lot of people are going to get more into it. And, you know, I think I even found this, that there's more people, which is kind of a little bit conflicting. And I know we need to round up, but like just selling vials, you know, very like as a kind of like selling blended vials already made up, and it's like, oh, that's only 30 euros, selling them off. And again, that's a little bit like just buying the box on the shelf. It's like, it's not fully aligned to the creature in front of them, you know, if they don't know the creature. So there's a lot in there, you know, and I think there's going to be a big leveling up of different areas where people will start to understand that it's different, and they'll start to understand people like you that have so much depth and awareness how it works is more valuable to work with.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, I thought that 20 years ago. That didn't happen. It's got worse. Like, I'm like, oh my God, everyone's going to be in tardive medicine. People are going to realize, they're not getting healthy, not getting well. It's just gotten worse. I was completely wrong. So I admire your enthusiasm. Maybe it'll turn, but like, maybe it won't,
I know.
and I'm like, I just, yeah, anyway, like I'm not going to be depending on it for making a living, because you can't. Yeah. But that's just the way the world is, and you have to roll with that.
It's a weird world.
It is a weird world, yeah. Anyway, listen, we might end it there, and
yes.
And it's just because attention span. I don't want to put out anything that people may have thought through, but I definitely totally enjoyed chatting to you. And maybe we'll chat again sometime or whatever,
There's a million other things we could talk about.
Yeah, I know. It was just one topic. Like, and we probably didn't even cover that topic.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. You start talking, you're like, oh my God, this is a whole field of words.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much.
No worries. I'm just gonna stop recording. I'm just gonna press the stop recording button.